And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, presents the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show here. And our host tonight are Joey Riom, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Gosel, and our special guest, Shawn Clark. Welcome to the show, Shawn.
Hey, Pete. Thank you for having me. How you guys doing?
We're doing okay.
Doing good.
Just want to open it up, Shawn. A lot of people don't know about you. They're going to learn about you tonight. The biggest thing they're going to take out of this is that this kid is knocking on the door of the NFL. We're going to get into that. You've been in contact with Buffalo and Arizona. I don't want to ruin all the surprise and all the questions, but if you could take us through a little synopsis of where you came from and where you are today, I'm sure the fans would love to hear about that.
I grew up in Parrishville, New York. I was born in Potsdam. I went to kindergarten through 6th grade up in Parrishville. Played a lot of soccer growing up, big baseball and soccer kid growing up, and got into football, I think third grade it was, 3rd and 4th grade, and kind of just fell in love with it, played a little soccer, a little football, and 6th grade came, and my mom made a decision to move me to Potsdam. So we ended up moving over to Potsdam so I could just play sports over there, mainly to play football in Potsdam because that's where I'd been. And so I played out my years there until my junior year. Left, made a decision, kind of more a decision for myself and my future after that to go up to prep school. And, a lot of guys from around the North Country go to prep for hockey. So it was kind of got a little backlash from that. A lot of people, just questioning, why are you leaving for prep school? You don't play hockey, kind of hasn't really been done for football that much. So, I went on a limb and just, I had a bigger dream. So made a decision and went to Cushing Academy out in Ashburnham, Massachusetts. It's about 45 minutes west of Boston. And played a year and a half there. I got to graduate early. So I graduated in the fall there. I talked to a couple schools throughout my senior season and had a couple offers, and I ended up going to Monmouth University in New Jersey. That was really my decision, and I had a great 5 years over at Monmouth, and as we get going, we talk a little bit more. I'll share more of my story, but yeah, I went from Potsdam to Monmouth University in Jersey.
And a decent sized university from what I see.
Yeah, no, very nice. It's right on the ocean too. It's so I never even heard of Monmouth University. The coach came to visit me. We're sitting in the office and they're like, we're from Monmouth University in New Jersey, and I'm like, I've never even been to Jersey in my entire life. I think it's the armpit of the States, but yeah. I'm just kidding. I love Jersey.
Most of us North Country people haven't been out of the North Country, so you know how that goes.
Absolutely, man.
So they came after you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How they came after you, and did you have any other schools looking at you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Monmouth was the first school to come to me, come visit me at my high school, and really the first coach to come down with me. And that really opened my eyes because that was the reason I went to prep school. I wanted to get a full ride to get a Division I scholarship. That's the whole goal. So they came, and then I had a couple other schools, a lot of NEC schools, Sacred Heart, Bryant, Wagner. And actually, I had North Carolina State and Syracuse for a while. I was hoping I was going to end up at Syracuse as a walk-on, and that call just never came. So I ended up going to Monmouth there with the full ride, and it's kind of just like the whole process itself. When you're in it, you don't really realize how crazy it is. Then you're in the middle, and you have coaches calling you, and you're trying to make decisions while also you're still playing. So it was kind of fun, but I had no prior experience. You have those 5-star recruit kids that are getting phone calls in 9th grade going to camps. So coming from the North Country, it was like, wow, this is amazing. You don't have those same opportunities coming where we're from, solely based on where we are. So it's kind of like just a whole new world, a whole new ball game, and it's the first glimpse of me getting to see like the backside of football and just sports and the whole, everything that goes into it.
So how much?
Yeah, you're right. We've
Sorry,
talked to we talked to a couple other athletes who have gone on to like D1 programs, and to hear their recruiting process, the same thing. These big time coaches or big time recruiters coming to the North Country, and we're like, really, so and so was in the North Country? Wow.
No, absolutely. Like, it is just, that's the difference. Is like we don't have as just many opportunities because of just where we are. We're located. The exposure.
Right.
Is the same. And it's unfortunate because there are so many talented athletes. If we're downstate, if we put the North Country downstate and keep our athletes, like, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? So it's just it's tough, man.
Yeah, and we're more adept to having people coming up looking for our hockey players than anything else, because that seems to be the big sport. And until lacrosse grew, and lacrosse is a big sport now, MLL is stuff like that. But so moving forward, Shawn, how much? I'm still here. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here.
Yep.
Okay, because it just froze up on me. We're getting a storm here. So don't go away. If I leave, I'll be right back. But how much influence did your parents have in making your decision well, you said you made your own decision pretty much to go to prep school, but moving on to the university level, how much influence did your parents have?
Well, to be honest, my parents throughout the whole process, more or less, were just the backbone for me. They supported every decision I made, and they just wanted me to, if I really wanted this dream, they just wanted to be there and support me as best they could. So they weren't really a big part in making my decision. They were more or less, just awesome and listening to me and what I wanted, and maybe making a recommendation. It's really about your future. Hey, there's life after football. You need to think of the other opportunities as well. So, I think they made more or less just like they were my backbone in the decision, and just, supporting the decision I felt was best for me. So they were honestly awesome. And my mom, my dad both played sports in college, and my mom went to a junior college, and she was awesome. And she kind of went through the recruiting process a little bit. She had 14 offers from Division I schools like Florida State. Like, she had kind of seen some of these things already, but she didn't want me to feel the pressure like that she felt. And my dad was the same exact way, and he just wanted me. He was a guy that was like, growing up, he was just kind of, we play so much catch together, we run so many routes together, and he was for him it was just, he just wanted to see me succeed, and where's my heart was at.
So what were their sports?
My father played baseball, football, and my mother was a softball player. She played a little basketball and soccer, and
Okay.
yeah.
So Shawn, you said that most of this was your choices and with support from mom and dad, but at what point was there a coach of yours, or at what point did you say, hey, I really want to find out if I could be a D1 athlete, and that, having to make that decision on prep school, I don't know too many sophomores that are thinking along those lines without a little push from somebody or somebody getting in their ears. So, if it wasn't mom and dad, was there a coach or somebody that said, hey, you might want to think, if you really want to play football at the next level, about getting out of here? Was there somebody that prompted you?
So there's actually, I've had in the North Country, and I know you're going to know a lot of the guys I mentioned, but I've had quite a few just mentors, coaches that were more mentors to me throughout my time. And so I want to, kind of talk about each one of them a little bit.
Sure.
But I had a dream as soon as I fell in love with the game. Like, every kid has that dream if they start playing and they love a sport. You want to, I want to play at the next level, be a professional athlete. But for me, it was like I took it so to heart as a kid that was the only thing I had growing up, going through middle school. And as soon as I got into high school and I knew that's exactly what I wanted. That was my everything. And I'm just a competitive guy. And like when I love something to the extreme. So like with sports, it was just like, this is what I want. And, I got, when I came to Potsdam, I had my first, two guys, three guys are Coach Steve K-Mack, Brooks Bigworth, and Bill Mitchell. And they are my basketball coaches. And man, you want to talk about just, tough guys, but they care about you. It was my first real taste of what it's like to be coached by college coaches, because they've been around it. Coach K-Mack was around the national championship team. So wasn't Coach Bill Mitchell, Potsdam State. So they've been around winning cultures. They've been around seen what it takes to be, champions. And when I got to, play for them and, be in an atmosphere where I'm really being coached up and he's in my face, it's, I'm taking all those hard, those hard times and those mistakes that they get into my ass on them. But I take those as, I can get better now. And they always, every one of those guys always just encouraged me to be the best I could be, always. No matter if I made a mistake, they were always there to back me up. And it's just like, when you have people that believe in you and you have a dream and a goal, it's, it fuels the fire. And it's, okay, I can take this criticism and I can use it to better myself and, towards what I want to do. And so those first three guys, and then another guy you guys might know, the late George Gordon, a Governor guy, longtime Section 10. And, he lived right around the corner from me. And I used to go visit him all the time. We'd sit in his chairs. And ever since I moved to Potsdam in 7th grade, he had followed me, just kind of followed my sports. And as soon as I got here, and he just always was a guy that just always gave me wisdom. And, like I said, kind of like a Coach K-Mack and Coach Mitchell, just always believed in me. And he always, told me I could be whatever I want to be. And he saw it in me, and he said, I just have to believe in myself. And, so I love him for that. And, what a great, great man. I wish I would have got to see him before he passed away. But, I just had some – and then, I got at prep school. I get to prep school, and I have a coach, Wayne Clark, the head coach there, was my everything. His family. And, like, when you have so many great people in your corner at all times believing in you, you're able to succeed and push for your dreams. You know what I mean? So absolutely. To answer your question directly, I'm sorry that was a lot, but it's like there's so many different things that go into, having that, coming into that mindset. It's not, like you said, it's not just like anybody is like, oh my God, I can go do this,
Yeah.
So there was definitely different factors, like I said, that, and a lot of people that just encouraged me further. So.
Well, and good for you for realizing that all those guys, all those men in your life, all those coaches, they wanted more for you. They saw more. I mean, we as coaches, we always, we're going to try to send you in that direction. You're being we would be selfish if we're not trying to think of what's best for you and what's best for us. So, for you to leave Potsdam and do what you did, and now you're proving your point. You're about ready to go try out for an NFL team, and we wish you nothing but the best. We hope that works out.
I appreciate that, man. Absolutely. Thank you.
It's
almost surreal. You know what I mean? It's just, like I said, it's just, you work for one thing your whole life, and then boom, you're faced with it. So it's, time's almost here. I'm excited about it for sure.
Yeah. And Dave and I are Buffalo fans. We usually don't announce that, but,
lost it, Pete.
Huh?
Here, I'll fill in till he comes back, Shawn. So, what was your last year at Potsdam then? I know it was your sophomore year, right?
Junior year.
Junior year. So what year? So what year was that? Can you recall?
Yeah, it would have been 2014 or 2013 would have been my last fall. 2013, 2014.
Okay.
And we're back.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Sorry for that little technical difficulties. Okay, we're back with Shawn. And so, Shawn, before we got bumped off the air, we were going to talk a little bit about playing for Coach K-Mack. And while we were off the air, you mentioned a name that really resonated with me, and that's George Gordon, and it's somebody that we haven't talked about a lot, if at all, on any of our shows. And he's a man that we do need to chat a little bit about. And obviously, he had an impact in your life, so we'll give you a chance to talk about those two great coaches of Coach K-Mac and Coach Gordon.
Absolutely. So, playing for Coach K-Mac, that was a pretty cool experience because he came to me. I was still playing hockey actually. It was 8th grade, and one of my buddy's fathers had asked me just to try basketball, and I was still playing hockey at the time. This is 8th grade, so I was doing both. And Coach K-Mac came to one of our modified games over there and talked to me. He goes, "Look, give up the skates and just come play basketball for me." So I was like, you know what? And I got cut from the varsity team 8th grade, actually. It was the last day of tryouts, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give basketball a shot. Why not? So stuck with that. And freshman year, he brings me back in his office, and he just sits me down, and we just have a quick little conversation, and just what it's about to be like to play basketball, and just kind of laying out what the differences, and anyway, so I played that freshman year, and the following year in 10th grade, I ended up being on the varsity team, and that was my first real taste because I practiced with the varsity freshman year a little bit, and he's a very intense man. That's the way I can describe it. If you know Coach K-Mac, he's very, very intense, and he brings a completely different energy in the room, and it's an old school approach, but everyone respects him. When you play for him, you respect him because he knows what he's talking about, and his voice and his words just have such strong, they're just powerful, so and his sayings, he has a lot of funny sayings as well. But as a coach playing for him and just growing up, sophomore year especially, when I was really playing, getting a lot of playing time, that was, like I said earlier in the show, that was the first time I got a taste of what it's like to be coached by just an intense guy, someone that's been at the next level, a guy that knows what he's talking about, has been around a winning culture. So it was a more or less a wake-up call for me, I'd say. Playing for Coach K-Mac is a wake-up call. You know what I mean? From, the intense sideline clipboard smashes to, getting in your face. But at the end of the day, he loves you as a player. And he respects guys around the North Country, respects other coaches. And that's the one thing that, I picked up from him is respect. And, as an athlete, and respect for other athletes is, as intense as Coach K-Mac was with us and, with other teams, with refs, at the end of the day, when we're talking about teams before games, he has the utmost respect for Coach Tom Miller, for you when we were playing St. Lawrence, when we were playing Malone, so just different guys around the area. He never, you're getting us fired up. He always had the utmost respect for everybody. And that's kind of where I first learned, how to be, have that mentality of, being, I don't even know how to say it, like so intense, but yet, respectful to the game and, what it means to be just a good athlete.
So Shawn, that year so the first year that any team for St. Lawrence Central ever won a Class C championship was 2012. And it was Coach K-Mac's last season. And we faced off against each other in the overall sectional finals where you have the class champions play against each other. And I remember I was nervous as all hell because that's the first time St. Lawrence Central's ever gotten there. And it took me a long time to get our teams there. And I remember going up to Coach K-Mac before the game and him coming up and just said, "Hey, I know you're going to be a little nervous here, but he said this is an honor to be able to be playing against you." And what he knows the history. He knew this was the first time ever St. Lawrence Central had ever won a class title, sectional championship. And at the end of the first quarter, it was 28-0 Potsdam. So, but in his defense, he called off the Dogs then. I know in previous Coach K-Mac days, the Dogs would have never got called off.
Mm-mm.
I can live with the Dogs running hard for the first half. He called them off after the first quarter. He never pressed again, played classic Coach K-Mac, man-to-man defense.
And
He
defense.
made us work for everything, but he wasn't up in our grill guarding us. And I felt like, geez, maybe Coach K-Mac's is mellowing with age here, because this is not the guy I recall. But I do recall that, and that was why I said, boy, this Clark kid, he's coming back. I mean, he's still part of this program. And I think you were a sophomore that year, so you did come back for one more season with under Coach Bigwarf and Coach Mitchell.
Yep.
So we'll give you a chance to talk about that year, and then, like I said, talk a little bit about how George Gordon impacted your life, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, Coach Gordon was a big part of my life, especially early on. When I first got into Potsdam and everything. So he happened to be one of the first coaches I met when I moved into the Potsdam district. And I remember 7th grade, my first day of modified practice, he was on the side and he watched, all our practices, and he was there almost religiously every week, for at least 2-3 practices. And he always had words of encouragement for me. And, at the time I didn't really know who he was. I didn't really know quite too much about him. And, as I got older and realized, hey, he's my neighbor. Now he's also my neighbor, and he's how involved he was in Section 10 and all that. We started to chat, and I'd walk over and we'd just sit on his porch, and he'd give me a glass of whatever I wanted, water, juice, whatever, and man, he would just talk to me for an hour, 2 hours, just about life. But he always wanted me to just know that I could be anything I wanted in life. I could do anything I wanted to do in life, and I just had to believe in myself. And that's like the one thing I remember so much from him, is that, he said, we all believe in you. He said, but you have to believe in you. And that just kind of hit home. And like I said, that man, like since that moment, and I remember it was freshman year, I just got hurt playing football, actually. And we're on his porch, and I don't know, it just kind of hit home. He was a very, very, very good man, and always encouraged me, like I said, to be the best I could be. And so he'll have a very special place in my heart forever, for sure.
And I'll tell you, Shawn, as a guy that also coached against Coach Gordon, I actually was still in school when Coach K-Mac and Coach Gordon were just starting out as coaches. So that's how old I am now. But Coach Gordon, the one thing I took from him, and we butted heads more than once, because if he didn't like something, he was going to tell you. That was the one thing. He didn't hold back. If he didn't like something, he was going to tell you. And him and I had more than one argument, but him and I respected each other. And the one thing I always took from George, when I first got into coaching, I had a tournament in Brazier Falls to try, a little moneymaker off-season tournament. And Coach Gordon was like, sure, I'll bring Governor. We'll come over and play. And things went haywire that day. And I'm like, oh boy, he isn't going to like this. He's not getting what he should. And he just came, he said, hey, we're playing basketball. I'm in a gym. I'm around kids I love. And I heard him say to his kids more than once, I love you. I love you. And he said it all the time. All the time. And I stole it. Because I was a guy that was like that anyway, but I'm like, I don't know if I can talk to kids that way and they'll believe it. Well, once they realize it, they believe it. And I tell my kids I love them all the time now, and I got it from Coach Gordon. That's where I realized you can say that to kids and not have them look at you funny. If you love them, you're going to know it. And I'm assuming you got that from him.
No, absolutely, man. And it was like, I have a big heart as well. So it's like, every time you hang up the phone, I love you, whether it's with my friends or, my family, is just love you, man. Or, love you, mom, or always. And it's just, absolutely, I'd have to say I got that from him too. I can't even lie to you.
Yeah.
So here we go again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's so glad that you were able to come on, and that it took you to remind us about a great man in Coach Gordon, because like I said, we just haven't talked about him enough. So I can't thank you enough for giving us 5 minutes to talk about him, and I hope people will appreciate that. So.
Absolutely, man.
So let's get back to things that are happening now, and you know, so you're hopeful Monday to take off and try out for the Buffalo Bills. Is that the plan?
You know, as of right now, that's what I'm planning on. I'm planning to have a phone call, and you know, if things change, or you know, I'll be ready to accommodate. But you know, it's just the worst part. It's just been hard because you know, it's just a waiting game. All the phone calls are, you know, just stay ready, keep working. Every phone call, you know what I'm saying? So and everyone is getting the same calls as me. So you know, it's just tough. Right now, it's just who's gonna, you know, outwork who's gonna last longer, and you know, we got to be ready to either go, you know, Monday as the dates are slated, or you know, if we have to wait another month or 2 months or next year, you know what I mean? So it's just a waiting game, and this whole COVID thing, it throws everything off, you know, it really does.
Yeah, we're well aware of that. You guys can still hear me, right? For now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I want to talk about a few things going forward too, but actually backing up, I guess. But so have you always been this tall, Shawn? Have you been this tall? I mean, have you been tall for your age your whole life? Because I'm trying to figure out where you went from. Joey and I talked about this before we came on live. This kid is 6'8", and he went from quarterback to a tight end. And if you're 6'8" and you can throw the ball, you're looking over your offensive line. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out, have you always been tall for your age growing up?
Yeah, I mean, relatively, yeah. I've always been, you know, one of the bigger guys. But when I first got to Potsdam, I wasn't even I wasn't the biggest guy in my class. And I think it was freshman year of high school, I went from 5'11" to 6'4" and grew 2 shoe sizes, from like a 13 to a 15. And I think ever since then, I kept going, you know, every year, another inch, 2 inches.
Yeah, and mom and dad's pocketbook just got emptier because now you're fitting into new stuff.
Yeah,
so
all the time.
I can sympathize with you. I grew 14 inches between 7th grade and 8th grade.
Oh my!
I wasn't
I can feel your coordination now.
I wasn't one of the tallest kids in elementary school, and now I'm about 6'4", 6'5". But yeah, 14 inches in 1 year. Yeah, I couldn't walk.
That's
Tripped over my own feet every day, all the time. Yeah.
growing pains right now.
So you're keeping in shape now, Shawn. You know, you're on a regiment. You're working with somebody, you know, trying to push you a little bit harder to try to get ready, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was training for the pro day leading up to the draft, I was down in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina, training with the Perfect Athlete, and I've known them for, you know, since I was in high school. And then once I got back to Jersey, you know, it was kind of nothing was open, so I got lucky, and the house I had at school while I was in Jersey, my strength coach from Monmouth happened to live right down the street. You know, I work out with them every day anyway. So that happened, and it just happened to be a perfect spot. And there was another Monmouth athlete who allowed us to fit into their schedule in their barn and work out. So I've been 19 weeks working out with my trainer in a barn. It's got goats in the back. And, you know, it's just we're making do with what we got. But I feel great. And, you know, I'm still running. I'm still, you know, catching balls and, you know, doing everything I do, even when I was training for the pro day. So, you know, it's the biggest thing, consistency right now. You know, just how consistent can you be? And, you know, the first person that makes a mistake is, you know, they're gonna get cut. So, you know, you got to be consistent, and that means working out too.
So you're doing the Rocky workouts like you did in the barn over in Russia. Is that what you're doing?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, axes and all. All the wood, man. No, just the Paul Bunyan workout. Yeah.
That's okay.
We got a pretty nice setup in there. The kid that the house we're allowed to work out in right now in his barn, they did an awesome job, him and his father, putting it together. And, you know, then they have all the sanitizers and the schedule, and they got all the cleaner for the floor and stuff. So, you know, it's, you know, it's awesome for what we have to get done, honestly.
So tell us a little bit more about your connection with Trevor Scott.
Yeah, so I met Trevor a couple times as a kid, and actually, I remember the first time I met him. We were in Champs, and I was with my mom, and he was looking at shirts along the wall in the Messina Mall, and I was too afraid to go up to him. My mom goes up to him and talks to him. My son, loves football and idolizes you because I knew who he was because like I said, I play football and I happened to go to Potsdam, so there was already that connection, and so anyway, I met him, and he was just instantly just kind of like an idol. Like I didn't know him, only said probably 20 words, but then I just kind of looked up to him, followed him and Brian Leonard all through their careers, and then I reached out to him before I started training, and just said, I want to, you and Brian inspired me, and I want to follow in your footsteps, and if you have any words of advice, and so he texted me. We got his number, and he texted me, and he probably for a couple weeks there, we're texting a good amount, and he just telling me how to keep working hard, and just giving me some advice. So it's cool. It's cool to have those kind of guys in your corner, or someone that you can reach out to, and just be a voice of reason.
Absolutely. So I had another sheet of paper here, and I can't remember where I put it. All right, guys, I gotta look for this.
So, Shawn, how about well, number one, when the NFL draft was there fingers crossed? Was there a chance you were going to be a late round draft pick? I mean, were you hopeful? Obviously, you were hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, no, I definitely had a couple phone calls that week, and I wasn't gonna have my family come down because I was in Jersey. I was still at school at the time at my house, and my family was back home in New York, and I didn't want to have anyone come down or anything. So I got news, but obviously it didn't happen. But it was more or less get your hopes up. At the same time, I had to be realistic with myself, and I didn't really think I was going to get drafted to begin with, just because of where you come from. And we had an All-American receiver last year who was with the Giants, Reggie White. He didn't even get drafted. So you got to be realistic with yourself at the same time.
So how did Pete? I'll ask one more, Pete. Before I just want to know, so in this situation now, you didn't get drafted. How much is your agent playing the big? Is your agent playing the big role, or did the Bills give you a call, or is the agent calling around saying, "Hey, I got a guy here. I'd like you to get a tryout"? How's that all working?
Yeah, so my agent, Sean Stellato, he's a great guy out of Boston, and he does a lot of the backstory work, reaching out, making phone calls. I talked to Arizona before the draft. I talked to the scouts, their tight end coach, and so I talked to those guys, but Sean handles everything behind the scenes and all the major stuff. I just got to show up.
That's what you pay him for, right?
Just got to show up.
So I found a couple of the questions I was going to ask you, but you had your fair share of injuries in the past. How did you rebound from those and strengthen yourself back up to where you are today? Because it takes a lot out of an athlete when they get injuries. We've all had them. We're older now, but as a young guy, I'm sure you bounce back a little bit better than we do. But how did that set you back a little bit, Shawn?
I mean, I'd never been injured before going into college, and my freshman year, I had to have my my meniscus and my MCL worked on, and that was kind of a freak thing because the doctor was testing me when I came in. You got to go through all your physicals freshman when you get there. So they were working on me, and he noticed I had a problem. And then I get an MRI, found I had a tear, and I didn't even know about this stuff. So the first injury my freshman year was that was just kind of like, wow, like, you know what I mean? It can happen and just like that. And so it was tough, but I was still, I was young enough. I was 19 years old, and my body was able to heal. I got back quick. I was only out for about 2.5 months, so that one wasn't bad. And then sophomore year, I then again tore my meniscus as in warm-ups, and we're just just a wrong plant out of a break. So then that was another little setback. And then this past, or it would have been my senior year, 2 years ago in 2018, I dislocated my shoulder in camp, and I ended up playing 6 weeks with it, and just to the point where we were at Princeton, and then I took a hit, and I went to hit somebody, and my whole arm went numb, and so I found out I had torn labrum and a torn bicep, and that was probably the only injury that really took something out of me, and really just made me sit back and think to myself, like, how much more can your body take? But, you have to be strong, and especially when you have a big dream and you have goals for yourself, I had to, can I still do it? I had to question myself, and, I'm more than able and more than capable of getting back. And so that's what I did. I just had to put my mind to it, but it definitely takes the wind out of your sails. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough, especially as you get older. It takes a little more time. I was out 8 months with my shoulder, and I played 6 weeks with it. So it was, I probably damaged it a little more than, I should have. But at the same time, that's the price you play for, sports. You know what you sign up for. So
you're healthy now and ready to move forward, not any issues whatsoever?
No, this is the healthiest I've felt in probably 3 years.
And you're ready to get hit, right?
No, I'm ready, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
He won't have to be worried about us. I'm not going to hit you. But so going back, when you're getting phone calls, from this university, that university, and then now you got pros. I've heard some horror stories. I got buddies of mine that went and for baseball. And they said these guys are relentless to the point they were calling in the middle of the night. Did you ever have that issue?
No, I did not have I never had a 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. phone call, but I do know that some guys, especially my basketball team, that happened to. But I never had to experience that. Honestly, the schools that I got recruited by, or where the coaches were just very just good dudes. So I never had to worry about that. None of the crazies.
Oh,
None of the crazy.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, I guess. So you had an interview. You had an interview previously. I can't find it. Where you said you idolize your father, basically for being there, through thick and thin. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family life and how? I know you've told us a little bit initially, but if we don't have family behind us and helping us and pushing us, I know they didn't push you. But if you can talk more about your family, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, my dad is. We'll start with my dad, but yeah, we've always had a good bond, and like I said, we used to throw me so many ground balls and routes and everything in the yard, So he's always been around me with sports and just encouraged me, and having him in my corner too, just to be, just a voice of reason and just be there for me instead of pushing me was a huge part of, why we got to be so close. And, and I have, all my grandparents and all my cousins that also were always supportive of me, and then, like I said, it's easy to pursue something you love when you have so many people backing you and believing in you. And that's the best thing about my family is that, everyone has always believed in me, and, all the goals I set for myself, I'm able to achieve because I have such a great, support from my family and my mom as well. Like, my mom was an awesome athlete and an amazing athlete when she was in high school. So, she had been seeing some of the process and, had been under more pressure than me, at my age in high school, and she had seen more in college. And, so having her to just help me understand, what it's like to, have to talk to coaches and just go through the process. She was a huge, huge backbone for me as well. So like I said, it's just one, one big backbone and just one everyone believing in you. It's easy to pursue what you love and be able to achieve everything you set for yourself.
At what point, Shawn, did you say, I got to get an agent? I mean, there's got to be a time where people are knocking on the door enough to say, you know what, I gotta get an agent. At what time did you guys, decide it's time?
So, I mean, I had about 4 or 5 different guys reach out to me before the season, right as the season ended, I should say. In December, as soon as that first game ended, I was getting phone calls. So they reached out to me and my teammates as well, like some of the other guys. And that's what really, it's just, then it's kind of like a business. You have dreams and you have, goals for yourself. So you have to find somebody that not only you can connect with, but believe in you. And you have to wean in and out the bullshit that people are going to feed you. And it's a business, right? At the same time, they'll help you, but your dollar sign. So you got to find somebody that, you trust, and there's a lot that definitely goes into it. So I was on the phone with about 5 different guys for, almost a month and a half, 2 months before I signed. And I ended up signing with SES Sports, and Sean Stellato out of Boston, and he's a great guy. We talk all the time too. So, just having somebody you trust was huge for me.
So you're basically interviewing.
I mean, in a sense, yeah, because you have, a list of questions. You need to understand the process as well. So when I'm talking to these guys, I'm looking for specific answers, and they're also looking for answers from me. You're both trying to feel each other out, but it's not, it's you're playing with your money. You know what I mean? It's your money. So, you got to find somebody that you're going to trust, and at the end of the day, who can also get you paid. He has to get you paid, right? That's his job.
There you go.
Yeah, and these guys have a legal background, so if not, they got lawyers swarming all around them. So there's a lot of contracts I'm sure you had to go through. Did you have to get your own lawyer involved too? I don't know how this all goes. It's very intriguing to me how this all works.
No, so no, it's I mean it's really not that hard of a process. It's like I said, you have the phone calls, and then obviously you want to decide who you want to be with, and then after that, it's just they fax you the papers, or if you're able to meet in person, you can just sign the papers there. But they have all their agreements, their legal documents. He's sorry. They know the law because they have to go through all those courses and everything. So it's really a pretty simple process. But if you didn't know anything about it, you'd probably think it's a lot more to it, but it's really pretty easy.
So you got a degree in communications, Shawn. So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make it to the next level. What's the next step for Shawn Clark? Does he go broadcast, or what's he do? What do you want to do with your communications?
As of right now, after football, I mean, I either want to get into coaching. I'm looking into starting a nonprofit organization that I really want to, get into. I'll leave those dates or those details for, a different day.
Sure.
But I definitely have a lot of bigger plans for myself when I get back. And I had a job offer. I've also been going through some interviews. So, I definitely have plans for myself if football doesn't work out. And, if it doesn't work out, man, I gave it everything I got. And at the end of the day, I can be happy with myself because I know I gave everything I have in me to achieve that dream. And so, you know what I mean? Either way, it might be a little tough, but at the end of the day, like I said, I know I gave it my all the whole time. So
that's right. It sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders, Shawn, and you got a lot of people in your corner behind you. I know we're on your side pushing for you too. That would be amazing for a North Country guy to make it to the next level. So we're here pushing for you too. So
thank you guys, Dave, Joey. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Hey, best of luck to you. I hope this whole everything we're going through, we can put it behind us, and you can move on and get to where you want to be.
I really appreciate that, man. Like I said, I'll definitely be in touch with you guys too. If you guys all add me on, well, I'm friends with Pete. I don't know if we're all friends, Joe and Dave, but if we add, then maybe we can all stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because then we're going to be hitting you up for tickets,
Yeah.
Hey, man, hey, I could definitely return the favor. That'd be so cool.
Hey, if we're hitting him up for tickets, that means we can actually go to a game. And right now, I'll piss him off and ask him for tickets if I knew we could go to a game.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, a game is better than no game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
John, one of the great things, obviously, about the NFL and in all sports in general now is that it's. I mean, if we want to watch you, we can watch you. But selfishly, I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan. That's not my team. But I mean, if you ended up in Buffalo, that would be great. That would be awesome. I mean, I would.
It's like
I would definitely that would definitely be a follow for me. And obviously, you'd be on TV up here all the time without even making. I wouldn't have to get the NFL ticket to watch you then. So.
I mean, like it'd be incredible, man. And I'll tell you what, I'd be so happy because I'd finally be able to play back home, and be able to play in front of all my family and all the friends and everyone back home. That'd be a surreal feeling to play for the Bills. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It would be awesome.
It would be. Shawn, I want to thank you, I'm sure, on behalf of Joey and Dave and I for coming on our little program here. We really appreciate it. Get to learn more about you, the kind of kid you are. I'm actually a man now, and wishing you all the best in your dreams and moving forward. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
No problem, Shawn. Thank you. For Joey Ree, I'm Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Goso, and our special guest, Shawn Clark. This has been a Wise Guy Sports Talk Show right here on ESS, Empire State Sports. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.